Okay, this is second class here, where we will continue with Capitulum Unum Pars Prima, Chapter 1, Part 1. But last class was sort of trying to get everybody's feet wet on the Familia Romana. But this time we'll start doing some Latin vocabulary and dip our toe in the sea of grammar. But first, our initial prayer. I will mute everybody, and we will begin. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen. Actually, does anybody have any questions about our initial prayer out of curiosity? It's so second nature to me at this time that, I just think everybody knows it. But obviously, that's not true. Okay. All right, tonight, agenda. Agenda, by the way, is a very nice Latin word, and it literally means the things that need to be done. The oratio initialis, dicens Latinae, as in learning Latin. We'll talk a little bit about that learning Latin section. Questiones de capitulo uno, or seczione una. Now, when I say guess, anybody want to guess what that word is? If you're going to guess, you got to unmute your mic. Questions? Right. Yeah. So you already were exposed a little bit to the Familia Romana, which hopefully, as you read along, it was pretty easy to pick up the words from the context and the subject. Capitulo. Yeah, capitulo. Short I, short U. So capitulo.
I'm looking at the T sound. You're saying it like a CH?
No.
Capitulo?
Tulo.
Okay, I'm hearing a CH.
That's going capitulo. That's capitulation.
Okay, then I was hearing it wrong.
Although I admit sometimes when I switch between English and Latin, my tongue gets tied around the axle.
Your Texan comes out?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what it is. Grammatica, we'll start on a little bit of grammar. Very simple stuff, and then homework, and then our final prayer. And this is where I want to cover any questions you had on what hopefully you have read in the homework you've done. But let's talk about learning Latin here, since it's relevant. The Familia Romana uses what's called the natural method to teach Latin. And if you think about it, to a certain extent, it's how we learned our native language. Now, it was somewhat probably transparent to us because, we were babies when we learned it, and toddlers and etc. But that's, the idea is to approach that from or as close to one as can. And so what it does is it focuses on your basic language skills in what's known as a naturalistic manner, i.e. Seeing text, reading, listening, as opposed to starting straight out with grammar. If you took Latin in high school, you probably started with the grammar approach, where you learned the grammar first, and then you built up from there and on and on and on. And that's not a bad approach. The problem today, though, is nobody knows English grammar, much less Latin grammar. And so I've had I've had a number, last two classes, sessions where we did Collins, which is, I think, a very good book. We went that route, and I spent a great deal of time explaining English grammar so that I could explain Latin grammar. So you're going to have to grapple with grammar anyway. Okay, I mean it's a matter of time. There's there's no way around it. The grammar, if vocabulary is like the flesh, and grammar is the bones that you have to hang the flesh on. So we'll get to it though. But anyway, major emphasis is laid on communication, and both the written and spoken word. And that's why we're doing the electronic edition, is you can see the written word, the spoken word. And so that's how we're approaching it. And the other thing we're doing is we're trying to start with many Latin words that are understandable from context, or because they are part English in some form. Okay, what I mean by that is Roma, Italia, Asia, Africa. How they're English-like. So how can you should be able to look at those and say, okay, this is Rome, Italy, Asia, and Africa. Others, by virtue of context, such as est, sunt, non, and ubi, I think should have been pretty easy to pick up when you were looking at it. And so, that is the method. Any questions? Okay. Discens Latinae, learning Latin. We're going to continue to build up vocabulary using context and similarities to English words. But we do have to introduce some grammar here. As I said, grammar, words are the flesh, but grammar is the bones, and we need grammar or bones, in order to fill it out. Growing up, we took English classes and we learned proper grammar. You may not realize that listening to mainstream media and reading the newspapers sometimes, but hey, that's the idea. But one thing we are going to do is, as we study Latin grammar, we're going to be using Latin grammar terms. Did I misspell something here? Ooh, there's an extra M. Yeah, there. How about that? Oh, and you're saying I missed an...
You missed a vowel.
Grammatica, where?
Bottom line.
Oops. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I can spell check English, but I can't spell check Latin. Well, I can, but not mixed like this, unfortunately. Thank you. So these are the words that Latin grammarians use to describe their language. For the folks that had the class last year, we had a number of terms. Those are essentially the English equivalent of what the Latin terms are, okay? So we're going to use the Latin terms. That's what the Familia Romana does. And part of that is really part of the naturalistic method, and part of the immersive method is to get everybody thinking, reading, and speaking in Latin. Now, I will explain these, okay? Don't panic, because they don't. Some of this stuff. There are places in the Familia Romana that context and similarity to English words will be difficult. Okay, eventually we're going to get dictionary and a number of other things, but that's in the future. So anyway, so I'm going to use those terms, and that's because one of the reasons, because the Grammatica section of the Familia Romana is in Latin. In fact, let me grab that there. I warned everybody not to look. So let's see here. Let me zoom up. And let me do a new share. There we go. Yeah, this is the grammar section. And they actually, you might recognize some of them. Nomen, nouns, pronomen, pronouns, verbum, verbs, adverbium, conjunctio, conjunctions, prepositio, prepositions, interjectio, exclamations or interjections. And so this is a very valuable section. And so I do want to use some of the terms in here. So hopefully you can, when you go to that to reference it, you won't be totally lost. So we're going to start that today. But first, let's talk about the reading. We learned some locations, locationes. By the way, all TIO ending words in English come from Latin. So attention or temptation, temptatio, just condition, condatio. I mean, they're all there. In fact, you can probably go to a good English dictionary and see that, if the dictionary gives roots where they come from. So are there a couple observations. Syria is in Asia. Some of you placed it in Africa, and some of you put Egypt in Asia. No, Egyptus in Africa est, Syria in Asia est. So fortunately for those that did that, this is not a geography test, so you're okay. I counted that right, even if it was good Latin, even if it was the wrong answer. Any questions on the homework? And by the way, hold off for the moment. Actually, let me start with a different question. How many people were having trouble with getting the macrons to stick?
Yes, right here. I had a problem.
Okay.
Sent you
Yeah,
an email, too.
Michael, I think you sent me an email earlier.
That's correct.
And I sent you one too.
Yeah, you sent me one. I noticed a few other people, there was some rather curious, like in one case, no was spelled NN, like somebody ate the O.
Yeah.
Like, that's a weird typo. Okay. Now, as Alex will testify that I can mangle any word. It's my superpower. But still, Alex, what computer device did you do that on? I'm trying to see if there's any common thread.
I just have a PC.
Okay.
But what would happen with mine was, so I would answer the questions. For example, in exercise number 3, I think the second one was like Italia in Europa Est.
Yeah, something like that.
I would have a macron over the O and over the A, and then after I finished the entire quiz or test, then it would come back and it would show me my answers, and it would not have the macron over the O, or it might not have it over the A, and that happened quite a bit. I like Syria in Asia Est. That didn't have the macron over the A.
Yeah, I noticed in a couple of cases, people spelled Europa without the ending A. And again, that's a strange typo. So
so the frustrating thing is you can't change it. After you enter it, it won't allow you to go back to change it to say, wait a minute, this is, a mistake.
Yeah, okay. I will write to the, I'll tell you what, for the ones but you didn't have a problem with the computer graded exercises, is that right?
No problem with the computer grade.
Okay, it's just the ones that I have to grade. I will write them, I'll write them the support team a question about that. So Robert, were you using Windows? I'm trying to decide if this is some weird Windows thing or iPhone or iPad or, you know.
Yeah, I was using Windows in my PC.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. And Michael, what about you?
I was using a Mac.
Oh, that's right. Were you using a Mac or an iPhone?
The Mac, the actual
Mac?
Pro.
Oh, no, that's
Mac Pro.
weird. Because I've used it and I haven't had any trouble.
Well, you know what? We had a blowout of the transformer last night. And ever since then, I have this one and I have a Dell computer. They're both acting very freaky. And they had surge protectors on them. So I don't know what I thought that I might have a problem with my computers.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've rebooted.
Oh, yeah, I did everything and ran the test and the whole bit. And it seems
Okay.
kosher, but
Yeah, well, we'll see. What kind, all right, I hate to get on a tangent here. What kind of surge protection did you have?
oh my God. These things are probably a couple of years old.
Oh, okay, but there's the straight, they're the straight surge protectors?
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
And-
I'm gonna recommend, okay.
Go ahead.
I work at NASA. I think people
Right.
have heard that.
Mhm.
I have what's known as a UPS on all of my computers. And when I say UPS, I'm not talking about the guys that drive the brown trucks around. They're called uninterruptible power supplies. You can get one at any office goods place. They're not cheap, but they're not expensive. And I recommend that you plug your computers into those things. Two reasons. One, if the power goes out, they have battery backup, so you have a while to, save your stuff. And two, they will take a jolt of much stronger current. And the reason I mention this is in 2007, I was sitting at my desk typing away, and we had a lightning strike. I like to say I heard the boom before I saw the flash. It doesn't work that way, but it seems like it.
It left a 3-foot diameter scorch mark on the back of the
On our
house.
tree, yeah, and it blew out it arced over to the house, blew out the phone line. And it actually blew out. What was interesting is I was on my laptop at the time. And I was connected to the internet for a hard line at the time. And it traveled along well, actually, that's not true. What it did was the internet cable was actually next to it. It actually blew out the laptop power unit or PM or what is it? Oh, no, I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, what it meant was I could no longer charge the laptop, which was rather useless. So we lost other stuff. So I recommend, go out and buy a UPS. They're $40, $50, $60, $80, or $100, depending upon how many plugs you want.
Michael, would that be like going to like Best Products, or I don't know if you guys have
I picked mine up at Office Depot, but
Office
yeah,
Depot,
Best
okay.
Buy. Yeah. So
Yeah, because we lost 5 computers in that strike, so it would have paid for itself.
I don't remember it being 5, but given the cost
Yeah,
of a new Mac laptop
because
versus
there
the
were
cost of a
laptops,
UPS, you only need to lose one. So, but yeah, that's right. We did lose the other one, didn't we? You're right. Yeah, we lost a couple of stuff. We also lost our stove, but that's covered by insurance, so that wasn't quite so bad. So anyway, I'm just high voltage like that in the 50,000 volt range, which is what a lightning strike. Fortunately, it's not high current. It can do all sorts of weird things. It can arc across things. So
this thing only
recommend-
jumped from like with the thing going out, the transformer. I was talking to the tech out there, and he said it went up from, I guess, like from 20, 25 to 50.
Mhm.
And I always thought the thing about these strips would be they'll sacrifice themselves first when it gets,
Yeah,
ridiculous.
they help. They do help. Okay, don't get me wrong, they do help. It's just the UPSs help more. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so what you're saying, it's kind of like having overkill.
Uh,
I should say overkill.
yeah,
but
and again, it
let's
depends.
call it in the
Okay.
Marines instead of having the Air Force there.
Ooh, wow. I know
Sorry
some
about
people that would object to that, but
Well, bring them on. I'm ready.
yeah, really what it is, the surge protectors are good up to a certain voltage. The UPSs have a much higher threshold.
Okay,
Basically. So
thank
anyway,
you.
let's all right. I will write to them and let's get back to the subject. I will write to them and ask them about the missing letters.
And how are you going to grade our papers? Just curious.
Most of them I already did. I thought I had done, was that you, Michael?
Yeah, because it's sometimes like Alex was saying, sometimes it would just disappear.
Yeah,
ending.
well, don't get too hung up that, we're
No,
not
I'm not.
doing this,
I think I got the stuff right anyways, to tell you
yeah.
the truth.
Well, yes, just see my comments.
Okay.
I noticed that some people had missing vowels in funny places, which led me to believe that there's a bug or something here. Oh, by the way, oh, well, okay, we had it Mac and Windows, so never mind. You're not using the same browser, so or actually, I should ask. You're using Safari, right, on the Mac?
It's either Safari or it might be GoDuckGo that I'm going in from Safari to GoDuckGo. Does that make sense?
Yes, but okay. All right. Well, I will send them an email.
Okay.
What I will probably do is if you
I also, I was gonna have a comment. Are there system requirements for what system you're running that might have been a problem?
No. Oh, you mean as what version of the OS? Not that I'm
Yes.
aware of. They just says it runs on all sorts of stuff. So I'll send them a note and they may have seen this.
Then they may,
Yeah, there's no point in us taking the time to debug it. If it has happened to you, then you forget the macrons for the moment. I kind of hate to do that because they are important, but
Michael, I'm still trying to figure out when to use a macron and when.
yeah, that's the thing. I'll tell you what.
And as I was
let's not
doing
do
was
that. Let's
cut and
use the
paste.
macrons, and if they get eaten, boy, I'm trying.
No, Michael, what I'm saying is I was able to figure out what S and sunt was, how one was singular and one was plural.
Yeah.
Like noon and noon. One had a macron and one didn't. I'm trying to figure out, well, what's the difference? I would try to look in the readings to see what the difference was, to try to figure out why you would use it in one instant and not in another.
In which particular case? You mean as in Italia or Italia?
Like in Italia.
Okay, we'll come to that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
Okay.
All right. Anything else other than, oh, by the way, Imperium Romanum, Roman Empire. That's another feature of the Latin, is the adjectives often, but not always, go behind the noun. So we can't say Empire Roman. People would look at you like, huh? But Imperium Romanum, they could also say Romanum Imperium. The reason they go with Imperium Romanum is it actually rolls off the tongue better. You'll find that word order, while word order is flexible, the Latin tends to put them in a certain order because it tends to roll off the tongue better. And we'll talk about that in the future. So grammar. This was Michael's question. Okay. Grammatica. Nomina. All right. Nomen or nomina literally means name, okay? Remember what we say, in nomine Patris, in the name of the Father. Well, the Latin word for nouns is nomen, one noun, nomina, plural. All right. So what is a noun? Okay. I'm not going to assume everybody knows what a noun is, but it's a person, place, or thing that can be given a name. Okay. So it could be a person, Marcus, Roma, Fluvius, Europa, Africa, Asia, Gallia, Britannia, Rhenus, Germania, and Hispania. Those were most of the, oh, well, I left out poor Syria, didn't I? And Aegyptus. Those were the nouns that you saw in the first section. What wasn't a noun? Well, et, ubi, est, and sunt. None of those words are places or things, so they are not nomina, not nouns. Any question? Okay. Now, first grammar lesson. Nomina, nouns. Latin nouns have gender or kind, number, and case. Or in Latin, genus, numerus, and casus. Genus, have you ever heard of genus and species in biology class? You know, this plant is something, something, you know, 2 words, genus and species, or okay, Tyrannosaurus Rex, genus and species. But genus in Latin can mean gender or kind, number, and case. Now, English nouns do not have gender, okay? You know, dog is dog, cat, star, church, whatever. There's nothing there. You know, we don't have, English simply does not have gender of its nouns. If you've studied foreign languages, in particular Indo-European, many of them do have gender. In fact, I think they all do. I think English is the oddball, if I'm not mistaken. So if you take French, it has le something and la something, le being male, la being female. German has der, die, das, which is masculine, feminine, and neuter. Spanish has, I believe Spanish just has masculine and feminine. Is that right? I think that's right. I don't know Spanish. One of these days I should learn it. English does have number, i.e. 1 river, 2 rivers. So we might say singular or plural. English certainly has that. Latin has that as word. And the other thing that English does not have much of is case, casus. English has 2 cases, river, meaning, you know, there's the river, and rivers, which we would say possessive. So this is going to be something that's going to be a bit strange to folks. If your native tongue is English and you've never learned another language. We're not going to get too deep into it right away, okay? We're doing the natural method here, and we're going to kind of slide our way into it. And we're going to see how it works in the readings, and then eventually we'll get to actually discussing the matter. So genus, kind, gender. Now, it's called grammatical gender, okay? It's a feature of the grammar, okay? And you've got to you've got to master it to be able to glue your, as I said, the vocabulary is the flesh, and if you want to build something out of it, then you've got to use grammar to hang it on the bones, so to speak. Actually, Janus is a much better term in Latin than the English word gender, because it may or not be associated with animal gender, okay?
Like, is anima,
Yeah,
is
okay, yeah,
soul
all right.
feminine?
Well, yeah, anima, soul, is feminine, okay? Obviously it's not totally divorced, because you're going to see vir, not in this chapter, but in the next chapter, you're going to see the word vir, which means man, and it means male. I mean, specifically male, not the generic English man. In Latin, the generic man would be homo, but vir means male, generally a male adult for that matter. And then you're going to see the word femina. Well, doesn't take a lot of brilliant to figure out that that's female. So, men are vir and women are femina, okay? So, yeah, pater, yeah, as Alex, vita is feminine, life is feminine. So, ecclesia is feminine. What's interesting is in the Trinity, in fact, let me go ahead and pop that up here. Well, patris, is masculine. Okay, no surprise there. Filius, son, is masculine. If it's a daughter, it's filia. And then there's Spiritus Sanctus, or Spiritus Sancti. Okay, which is also masculine. But the Trinity, Trinitatis, is feminine. So don't get hung up on thinking that if a noun is masculine or feminine, that therefore the thing in question is masculine or feminine. It doesn't work that way. Now, those things that we normally see as male and female, yes, it does that work that
Well,
way.
like, and I think in French, like table is feminine. Like
Is
tables
it?
don't have genders.
No, I thought it was le tableau. Is it la tableau or le tableau? I thought it was le tableau.
I thought it was the tablet. I don't know what it is. I thought it was feminine.
I thought it was
maybe
masculine, but anyway, yeah, you get the idea. Yeah, Adam's right. To us English speakers, it makes very little sense, but it's important because later on when we play with Latin word order, that's how you're going to know to link up your nouns and your adjectives. Anyway, I don't want to go into too much detail here at the moment, because I just want to get your feet wet. And as you come up with things in the next reading and the reading after that and the reading after that, they're going to sneak some in. And that's when we're going to be able to begin talking about it. So any questions? Good. Because I want to put them off till later. Now, we're going to start to discuss the three properties of every noun. I'm only going to talk about what you've seen in the reading so far. Michael, I believe it was, asked about the Italia versus in Italia.
Yes.
And but I'm only going to talk about what you've seen so far. I don't want to get ahead of the story. Again, we're trying to use the naturalistic method where you sort of absorb this along the way. And I'm your, I guess I'm your Latin Sherpa here as I guide you through the stuff, which is probably not a good thing because I hate cold. Okay, Nomen, nomina. Nomen, as in name, noun. Ut, for now, translate that as in. Ut, you will find, is a very slippery word in going between Latin and English. But for the moment, just use it as Marcus, Roma, and Fluvius. Okay? Janus. There are three Janus. Masculinum, okay,
Mhm.
feminum, and neutrum, okay? So masculinum, one of the masculine nouns, is fluvius, all right? Feminum, oh, there were all lots of them. Roma, Italia, Europa, Gallia, Germanica, Grecia, Hispania, Syria, Asia, Africa, all those nouns that ended in A. Those were all
Michael,
feminine nouns.
Michael, real quick, on the masculine,
Uh-huh,
going up, wouldn't Marcus be masculine?
yes,
Okay, just double, so anything, I guess, ending in like the US.
that's right. And I actually, that's the next charts.
Oh, sorry.
So, and then we had neutrum, as in oppidum. I think oppidum is actually the next section. Although if you go to the,
It's in the reading.
yeah, it's actually part of the reading. Let me switch screens here. There we go. You may not have noticed these illustration here, but fluvius, which is the river,
Mhm,
oppidum, which is city,
mhm.
and then insula, which is island. In fact, that's kind of neat. Fluvius is US ending, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself in the slides, is a masculine noun. Insula is a feminine noun, ends in A, and then oppidum is a neuter noun. So, so it's not too hard. Let's see, how do I want to put this? At this stage, it's pretty easy to know which one's which. There are other endings. I'm getting ahead here. There's actually something called 5 declensions. And this is the first, Roma is the first, and Marcus, Fluvius, and Oppidum is the second. But those, they're easy, and that's why we're doing them first. But that's getting ahead of the story. I just want to concentrate on what we've seen so far. So nomen feminum, feminine nouns. Now, let me point out something to you. What Janus or gender is feminum? Neuter. If you remember, the UMs were neuter. Well, the reason is feminum is an adjective, and it goes back to nomen, which is neuter. So that's why that may look a little strange. But again, I'm getting ahead. Let's just stick with what's in the text. We saw Italia and in Italia, Europa and in Europa, as well as Roma, Africa, Abria, Britannia, and Asia. All of those end in A, and they are feminine nouns, every last one of them. All of those need the long A at the end of the word after in. And if you go back and look at the text, you'll see in, well, here, let's pop it back up. There we go. So if we look at the text here, in Italia, Italia without it. In Europa, Europa has it. Grecia in Europa est. So in Europa has that long A. Italia and Grecia in Europa est. So Italia is not following in here. It's not behind the preposition. In is called a preposition. And so behind the preposition in, it takes the A. If it's not, then it does. And so right now you're pretty easy, because in Europa, in Italia, in Grecia, all take the long A.
And Asia.
And Asia, yeah, all the A words, they all
So
take
in
that
other
long
words,
A.
Michael, to try to grasp this, I'm looking at if it ends in the long A, then it's a place And if it's, doesn't have an A, we're talking about the name of the place, but not the place itself. Does that make, am I making sense?
No. Sorry, try that again.
Okay, say, like what you have highlighted there, Gallia in Europea Est. Gallia,
Oh, okay.
Gallia
I
is the
see.
place,
Yeah.
and Europa is the location. See what I'm saying?
Oh,
Once
no,
you-
no, 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 no. Okay, I
okay.
see what you're saying. No, okay.
I'm trying to look for shortcuts to figure this.
All right, let's put it this way. In Rome, oh, sorry, Roma
Right,
in Italia Est.
mhm,
Okay.
right,
Vaticana in Roma with a long A, Est. It is the fact that it is a noun. Doesn't matter what the noun is, okay? These just happen to be countries or large places or locations, I guess is what was the word you were using. Is that right?
correct.
Yeah, no, it's not location versus what you call that?
An actual place.
An actual place. Well, Italy is an actual place, okay? It's a big actual place.
Yeah, but Roma, when you compare Roma and Italy together, they're.
Yeah, no. That's a good guess, but no, it's the fact that they are nouns. They are both places, okay? One is a bigger place, one is a country, one is a city. But if I were to say the Vatican is in Rome, Vaticana, the Vatican,
Right.
in Roma with a long A, Est. So, and actually, think about it. Gallia is France,
Right,
okay?
but you have, what's the word in front of it, though?
Oh, they don't have anybody in Gallia. Oh,
Education.
darn.
Sorry,
They didn't put any cities in Italy, darn it. They didn't put any cities in France.
but
Does
now you're
say-
comparing a place to a place.
Yeah, let's see. Let me check.
It does
the
say
map
Roma
here.
in Gallia, no
Uh,
Est.
I have
Let's
one
see.
quick question.
Yes.
In regards to, you mentioned Gallia is France. Would that name from Gallia being for France, would that still apply to, like, say, the modern day? If you were to call Gallia, would that still be the name for France in the modern day, or would they
Yeah,
have changed?
to us. Yeah. Yeah. Well, remember this guy by the name of Charles de Gaulle.
That's fair.
Yeah. So yeah, they wouldn't use it necessarily. But yeah, that's the old name for France. And
What
so
name might they use instead? Out of curiosity, would they use like something like Francia or something like that to know the modern day, or what?
I don't know, but it's you. I mean, it's associated with France and well, okay, England, Britannia, okay.
Mhm.
Their song Britannia, roll on Britannia. So even
Ooh,
England
Britannia, yeah.
uses it, So yeah, you'll see it in French. So,
Okay.
okay, they don't have any cities in Gallia. Let me see here. Oh shoot, I've forgotten what Paris is. It means Mudville. Darn it. Oh well, I'm blanking. Well, if I had a city, I would put it in Gallia. So Gallia, or no, here, let's do this. Italia
Yeah, please.
in Europa. So, the smaller and the bigger. Roma in Italia, and then the Vaticana in Roma. So it's the fact that it's in something.
Okay, so you got Roma with the short A, or with no macron, I'm sorry.
Macron, yeah.
Gallia would have the macron at the end. The A would have it.
Yeah, if you have an in Roma.
Michael,
Yeah.
this is going to be a lot easier once you get into
Yeah, I know.
it. It's
Well, I tell you, actually, Yeah,
I just think if you hold the thought for now,
yeah,
say that we'll get into this later.
yeah, we will. But I wanted to explain what the rule is at the moment,
Got it.
okay? But yes, now the other thing we've learned, now we're going to learn later on why that A is there, okay? But I don't want to drop a bunch of grammar on you just yet.
Got it.
Nomen masculinum. So we had fluvius, right? River.
Yeah.
And the Nilus and the Rhenus, but we know that the plural of fluvius is fluvii.
Wow.
All right. So all we know is the masculine to end in US in the singular, and they end in I in the plural. Right now we don't, whoops, thank you. I did not switch screens. Thank you very much, Laura. There we go. So nomen masculinum. So we've seen fluvius. The plural is fluvii. We have the Nilus and the Rhenus. Let's see, there was another one in there.
The Tiber's.
The Tiberius. Yeah, I'm going to leave the Tiberius off for a moment because it's known as third declension, so it's a different set of rules. I'm just focusing on the major ones at the moment. Anyway, these all end in US in the singular.
Mhm.
And then if there's more than one, then it has a long I. And lastly, nomen neutrum, oppidum, city. And all of those end in UM in the singular. And that's about all we know about them so far. Later on, as you're going to read on, we'll pick some up. And probably at the end of this chapter, I'll start putting together, or maybe the next chapter, I'll have to see where it makes sense. We'll put together a table of these endings. But right now, why don't I go to the table immediately? Well, one of the fun things is remembering the forms. You can memorize the endings. That's pretty easy, but you don't necessarily know how to use them. So by looking at the text first, I want everybody to kind of see how they're used. And then when we introduce the table, that will reinforce what you've seen so far. At least that's the theory. We'll see how well that works. All right. So right now, as I said, we're going to expand our knowledge of Latin. We're going to fill in the blanks for Janus, numerus, and casus. But for now, A ends in A, sorry, nomen feminum, feminine noun, ends in US, nomen masculinum, ends in UM, nomen neutrum. And I'm going to leave any other nouns with other endings for later. These are the basic ones, and we will get some more of the fancier ones as time goes on. So, any questions?
No.
Yeah, because, by the way, if you have a burning desire, let me switch to there, Grammatica. Yeah, see, they're going to start talking about these things called declinaciones, declensions. And they're going to call, the feminine, these are the masculine. There's also the third, the fourth, and the fifth. And we will start learning some of those endings, but let's not do that just yet.
Okay.
Let's pick it up from the grammar itself, which is supposed to be way easier.
Or you said if you feel what was it, brave to go ahead and at least look at that, or
I'm sorry, what?
You kind of cut yourself off when you went to that page and you showed the declensions and all that. And yes, you said you might want to, and then you just kind of like went dead.
Oh, sorry, my audio must have cut out.
No, your thought went out.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Are you saying we should take a look at this if you feel brave enough
Yeah,
to look at
take a
it?
look, take a look at it. Don't sweat it though,
Oh,
because
okay, good.
there's a lot of there's a lot in here. Okay, this is where they're talking. Okay, what are we talking about in this section? Nouns, pronouns, verbs, adverbs, conjunctions, prepositions, interjections, kind, number, and case. And then there's nominative, accusative, genitive, dative, ablative, and vocative, and neuter and plural, and feminine, and all this other stuff. So there's a lot of stuff in here. Okay.
Wow, okay.
This page here, oh boy, we probably spent, I don't know, how many classes do you think we spent on that in Collins? I don't know, what, 5, 6 chapters, I think?
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. So, you know, if you can read that and memorize it, then really you should probably read the rest and teach the course instead of me. Because there's a lot here. So if you want to look at it, go right ahead. But as I said, what we're doing here is we are going to use this. We're going to use this text. Learn. And you think about it, you go into like conversational French, for example. You know, they'll teach you bonjour, you know, good day, or Spanish, hola, you know, and they will teach you simple phrases. And that's what we're really working up here, is we're working up the phrases. And by reading this, if you notice, there's a lot of repetitive pattern. Roma in Italia est, Italia in Europa est, Grecia in Europa est. These 3 sentences are essentially structurally the same thing. They're reinforcing word order and the fact that you need a long A after the in. So you're seeing a lot of repetition here. And so, yeah, exactly. So what Teresa said there. So let's continue on with that.
Michael?
Yeah.
Something that might be useful is when you look at that page that had the grammar on it, the previous page,
yeah,
and then you cross-reference it with the story, then I think it's helpful to see, okay, these are parts of speech. And when you're reading the story, if you understand what's being said in the story, then you can cross-reference the parts of speech in that previous chart with the story, and then it makes more sense. If you're just looking at parts of speech in the abstract or in the absolute, it doesn't mean as much as it does when you're cross-referencing it with the story.
You have an advantage.
Acting how the word is used.
Yeah,
Right.
well, you guys have, okay. Both, just for those who are newbies, both Alex and Teresa were in the last series of classes, so they have an advantage of having had that grammar. I understand what you're saying, Alex, and I don't necessarily dispute it, but for the moment, I would rather they concentrate more on the flow of the text and the story, and then when we get through it all, we'll tie it all together. But keep in mind that, you know, they do have hints over here. And yeah, if you want to look in the grammar and you can decipher it, then yeah, go ahead and do that. I don't want to say don't do it, but what I don't want is for newbies to go in there and look at the grammar and they go, oh my goodness, and faint, fall on their keyboard and, you know, short out their computer and the house burns down or something, you know. Don't panic. There's a lot on that page which will build up over the next couple of stories. That's all I'm saying. Okay. But you will see, you know, the US. Tiberius is third declension. So I'm not talking about him. He's the ugly stepchild for the moment. US, Nilus et Renos. Yeah. Oh, plural, Nilus et Reni. Nilus et Rhenus non fluvii parvi. Anybody want to take a stab at that? Nilus et Rhenus non fluvii parvus. All right, anybody? Okay, Manus.
They're not very small.
Yeah, Manus, big. Parvus, small, little. All right. So there's hints over here. There's yeah, and they have grammar hints here. Corsica insula est. Corsica et Sardinia insulae sunt. Singular, plural. But as I said, we'll put a table for this later. But for now, just read through it and kind of let it percolate.
Okay.
And so, any other questions? There's a lot of quiet people out there. So they've either fallen asleep or screaming in terror or went to the fridge to get something.
You know, Michael, I was just looking at the that column on the left-hand side where it says it's kind of helpful.
Yeah.
When you did the what was it? The
Parvus Manus.
I have no idea what either one of those words mean.
Magnificent.
And then if I go to the thing, I'm going, okay, Nilus Filius Magnus est, Tiberius non est Julius Magnus.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, Magnus means big.
yeah,
large.
right. But I'm saying if I looked at originally when I first look at it, I'm sitting there going, what is
Yeah,
this?
well, okay. You are going to struggle a little bit with this, okay?
We've all choked at one time or another. Some of us multiple times in the same night. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Okay,
but also, yeah, you are going to okay, think about when you were learning think about when you were learning English. When
Okay.
you were a little kid, you'd be exposed to words that you hadn't heard before. And so
Yeah, but there would be an action with where your mind could sit there and you know what I mean?
yeah,
This is just one-dimensional, so to speak. I'm just reading words.
well, and listening to them.
Well, that's true. Well, got you there.
Yeah,
But a
and
lot of times I
also,
just try
but
to-
you see, he's there. There's, they're using it repeatedly in here. Also, okay, you do.
See, what I try to
have-
do is I end up staring at this thing for about
Okay.
5-10 minutes and keep
Okay.
repeating. What are they trying to tell me?
Well, now you do have the glossary.
Now that's the key. You
That
get-
is no help, I swear.
No. So let's look up Magnus. Let's see Manus, big, large, great. Okay.
Oh, that's not good. Come on.
above the story, it has, for access to the glossary, just click more in the upper right corner.
What, that?
Yeah.
No, that just makes the page big.
No, above that.
Whoops.
Go back. Go up above that. Above that. Okay, well, it doesn't show up on yours, but on mine, above that, a little ways above that, it has for access to the glossary.
Up there?
It says, please click more in the upper right corner.
Yeah, but he's got, I think he's got to close the speaking part first.
There, yeah.
Oh, there it is. Please click more in the upper right corner. Yeah, that's up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was. I had collapsed this part.
But to answer his question, that's the key, is that it's helpful to go back to the glossary
Yeah.
when you see something you don't recognize, like Manus or
Yeah.
Harvard.
Yeah, and
Well,
it's not, go ahead.
Well, Alex, do you type in Magnus or do you type it? Well, see, you said type in more, and I'm sitting there going, but you knew Magnus was more.
No,
I'm
no, no,
sitting
no,
going,
no. Magnus is big.
It's big.
Oh, okay.
And you can type in the first three letters like that. Well, that's it. Now this searches for all occurrence of it, so it's kind of a dumb search. Well, it's not integra, or it's not magis, magister, magnificus. Ah, here it is, Manus. Big, large.
Glossary is for the story that we're reading, right?
Yes. This is,
Oh, okay. Well,
yes.
that kind of helps out.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And
This-
if I may say something,
Sure.
something that may help eventually is like when we had the Collins book, there was a section that would show English words that were derived from the different Latin words we were studying.
Uh-huh.
So something that kind of helps me is that since I teach history, I can associate certain things like, and I think this French is Charlemagne, but then I think in Latin it's like, what is it? Carlos Magnus. So
Yes.
Charles the Great. So finding a way like to think about something that you've read or you've heard or you've listened to or, you know, watched, like that can kind of connect with the
How about a magnum of wine versus a bottle?
different.
Or a
You know where
Sure.
I'm going.
Or how about a 357 Magnum?
Yeah, there you go.
Take your point. You can have guns or alcohol. Take your choice, or both.
Yeah, I'll go with the alcohol.
So would I.
Yeah.
Guns are too much
I
trouble.
wouldn't do both if I were you. That's probably a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. So yeah, and again, you know, this is what the part of the process here is for you guys to, you know, sweat it out a little bit.
Okay.
As I said, there is a glossary there, and you can, as I said, let's type in magna. It's not going to find anything, okay, because it only goes for the first. It only does matches with the first entry in the dictionary, so it's not the greatest dictionary. Now, I will say this: I'm getting ahead here. Why am I always getting ahead? I don't know. Well, I guess we all want to get ahead in the world, right? Or something. I don't know. Anyway, there is a dictionary that you can buy. Well, there's lots of dictionaries you can buy. I recommend one called Scriba, Scriba.
Yay.
It runs on Macs.
Mhm.
It runs on iPhones, it runs on iPads, and it runs on Androids. I do not believe it runs on Windows. I'm sorry for that. You may have to research. But eventually I will talk about dictionaries. There's Manus, and you know, I don't want to kind of drop a dictionary on you yet, because there's a lot there. You can, you can see that there's a lot there. Whoops, sorry, that's a zoom. I didn't mean to
That's
zoom.
the other problem. I have that script and I typed in a word like that and it gives you a whole listing. I'm sitting there going, oh man.
Yeah, that's why that's why I'm saying
Yeah, makes sense.
we'll get to it.
Okay.
You
Because I
do-
don't know where to look on that thing. Look at it. You get the
Yeah,
section
well,
1,
the thing to
2.
do, okay, I'll tell you, if you've got it, the thing to
Yeah.
do is to start looking at the italicized, italicized words. Okay, great,
Oh, okay.
considerable, yeah, grand, lofty, noble. Let me reset that.
Oh, wow. Thanks for the hot tip.
Yeah, so that's and some words, okay, some words are pretty simple. That is dog. Okay, dog, there it is.
Right.
But what if I were to call you a dog? Does that mean I think you're actually a member of the canine species? No. A
No.
dog is a note of reproach. Well, just in Roman in English, you know, you dog you is a shameless, vile person. Well, that's true also in Latin. So there's or if I just say the dog, I could be referring to the constellation. There's a constellation called Canis Major, otherwise known as the big dog. You may have heard of the star Sirius, which is the brightest, well, it's the second brightest star in the sky. Does anybody care to know what the brightest star in the sky is?
Isn't it the North Star?
No. North Star is not very bright.
Okay. Would it be the sun?
Yep, the sun.
Trick
Kind of a
question.
trick question. Yeah, I know. It's also, what is the star nearest to the Earth? Well, it's also the sun.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, yeah, it's also the name of the Sirius or the dog star. So Then there's also the sea dog, and let's see what else. So there's so I mean, even in English, you look at an English dictionary, it may have a lot of entries, but the key thing is start at the top and look for some of the italicized words.
Thank you.
If you want to use that, great. Whoops, I just shut that window off.
It's okay.
Here we go. There we go. Now let me. But the glossary works too. Okay. So the idea is to kind of tough that out, and we'll continue on. What I recommend we do for the next session, we may actually end up early tonight. Well, that compensates for the fact we ended up a little late last time. Yeah, all right. So what I want everybody to do, if you haven't got the Familia Romana yet, get it. I think most everybody has. There's a few people that said they were going to sign up, and I haven't seen their names appear in my list. Oh yeah, I guess I'll show you this here. Let me just mention something. I can go over here and I can see great book. Here we go. So I can see all of the students and those who have done their homework and those that haven't. So there's a few people that are not on this list who said they were going to join us, but apparently they haven't.
Michael?
Yep.
I'd just like to make an interjection. Something that I think is really important for everybody in the class is just try to be patient. There's no way you're going to retain everything that's being said right now. But what's going to happen is things will get repeated, and then you'll start to pick up more and more the more they're repeated. You just try to get what you can now and be patient and recognize that everybody else is in the same boat. They're all trying to in some of it, what's being said. The other thing is to look for patterns. And I think that's what Michael was doing earlier.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why I want you guys to kind of read through this and struggle with it a little bit. Well, let me put it this way. When I read the more sophisticated stuff, there are parts where I struggle with it, quite frankly. At Mass, when I go to Mass, I usually hit the 11 o'clock Mass at Annunciation, which is the so-called Tridentine Mass, which I don't like that title. I'll tell you why later.
Do you like the extraordinary form?
I prefer, but they killed that one, so I'm kind of at a loss to know what to call it. But anyway, sometimes I call it the 62 Missal. That works. That's actually accurate because it is usually a 62 Missal word. But anyway, and I will be reading along, and I will come upon a word that I just don't remember, and so depending upon where that word is, I may. Yeah, that's true. We could do the TLM. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good point.
That's true. I like TLM. Yeah.
Or the Mass of the Ages.
Yeah, Mass of the Ages. Yeah. The Mass for the Aged. No.
The ones that attend it, the aged.
Well, actually, that's not true. If you go to Annunciation, there's even
A lot of younger people going.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I would say
I don't know why that nouveau, I don't want to get into it, but that I've been going to that. I'm the one that had, fallen away Catholic for 55 years. And I go to this thing and I don't understand it. And I think it cheapens the whole sacrifice of the Mass itself, the ritual. I mean,
let's not get into that.
I know.
I think we can easily all talk about that along similar veins for at least the next 3 hours. And
at least.
And you're in California, so you can afford it, but
oh yeah. Well, yeah.
But getting back to it, I will occasionally see a word, and depending upon where I am, I may slip over to my dictionary to look it up. So
Well, the
Uh,
only other thing I would say is I remember last week, Alex suggested that you do the reading, and I agree with him now. I'm trying to listen to this guy. I have to hit rewind.
Yeah, the other thing I need to ask there's two things I want to write to them about. One is I would dearly love a speedometer.
Yeah, this guy talks of just your pronunciation is a lot better because
Well, I don't know if it's better. I intentionally do it slower though.
I know, and this guy's just like, your natural, what's your telephone number? Well, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's what this guy's doing.
So it would be, and if you go on, actually you go on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken, you can do 2x or half X, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, this is on YouTube too?
No. This is not on YouTube. Well,
No, I know on YouTube, you can't slow down or speed up the, what you're watching, the verbiage or whatever, the pronunciation.
yeah, the audio, you can do it on that.
Right,
on
which
YouTube.
I've done, like I try to listen to the Latin rosary.
Yeah.
And I can slow it down so I can catch every word.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially if it's an Italian that's doing it.
yeah.
On your mark, get set, go.
Yeah.
Done.
Bada bing, bada boom.
That was all 50 rosaries or 50 Hail Marys. And,
Yeah, all the decades.
Yeah, and all the decades there in 30 seconds flat.
Did I lose you? Because all I'm seeing right now is Zoom.
No, that I have the homework section up.
What did I do?
Does
Let me try it again, I guess.
everybody else see the homework up?
Oh, okay, now I got it. Yeah, I must have did something.
Yeah.
Well, my internet has been a little weird lately, so I'm not going to say it had to be you. So anyway,
Yeah, no, mine's been doing the same thing. Trust me.
yeah. So anyway, so if you haven't got it, get the Familia Romana.
Mhm.
Definitely finish the first part and exercise 1 through 3, which was from last week. Do exercises 3, do them all. For those that have not tried it yet, you're going to find you get behind really fast. Okay. So, and I realize life happens. Okay. Life happens. I if anybody knows that, I do. But do make a, in your list of important things, death, taxes, do your homework. Okay. In roughly that order. Well, I suppose death, taxes, go to mass, and then do your homework. But,
Yeah, there you go.
but go to the second part of the chapter 1 and start reading the Latine Disco. I am learning Latin section. And it said, ignore grammatica. If you want to read it, go ahead. And then we're going to try and give exercises 4, 5, 5, and 6 are auto-graded. Those you will need macrons, and apparently those don't have a problem. It's only when you send it to me, number 7. Try and use the macrons. We'll see if we can figure out what's going on. I may be a little, yes, Latine Disco is in the first section here. Hold on. Share, there we go. So if you go to chapter 1, Latine Disco is this one. And this one talks, by the way, this one talks about Roma in Italia Est. And then they talk about, let's see, where is it? Okay, the meaning of et should be quite clear. By the way, everybody knows what the word et means, right?
Yes.
You now know the most common word in the Latin Vulgate Bible is et. So yeah, that's an accomplishment.
And it is, right?
Et is and.
Oh, and that's
As in et cetera.
That's right.
Okay. Let's see. And so, oh yeah, here
What
we go.
does etc. actually mean in like Latin?
Actually, okay, it's et cetera, cetra, which literally means and all the others. Yeah. But anyway, here they talk
Good
about
question.
Italia and Italia, and what word produces the long A, i.e. the in. So yeah, so read through that.
Okay.
You're going to start hitting, let's see. Yeah, this is going to be the second section of chapter 1. And yeah, okay, yeah. So start reading
22
through that.
pages. Yeah. So Michael, we're going to be doing this plus doing capitulum 1, the second part.
Yes.
That's a lot of homework. No, just kidding.
No, what I want you to do, well, okay, what I want you to do is here we go. Let's go here. You've already, presumably, you've already done this. 1, 2, and 3. So now you're going to do
Yes.
this. This is going to start the second section, which starts here. Nilus fluvius manius est. And the Nile River is big.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
And let's see. So then we're going to go to.
Oh, it's still on the homework screen.
Right.
Oh,
Thank you.
do I have a license? I need a license to drive this thing or something on here. There we go. All right. So. All right. So presumably you've read that one, you've listened and listened to it. You've done exercises 1, 2, and 3, hopefully. Not
Right.
everybody has done 3 because I haven't gotten submissions, but do get that in. Try not to get behind because, as I said, you'll get behind fast. Anyway, so yeah, you're going to start here in the story. Nilus fluvius manius est. Tiberis non est fluvius manius. By the way, that's the Tiber River. It goes through Rome. If you've ever seen the Tiber, it's yeah, non manius fluvius est. It is not a very big river. So read through that. You'll get this starts section 3. So read through chapter 1, section 2, listen to it, and then start in on the exercises. There's 4, 5, 6. These are all auto-graded. 7, I think I've already done 7. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, 7 is
This one we turn into you.
yeah, this is the one you send to me. I've graded most everybody's, but not there. I think there's a few that I have that in fact I can pick up here. It usually oh, I got 2 more here. So yeah, I need to catch up and get those done. I'll get those done before the weekend with any luck, or during the weekend. So do those. And so let's see here. There we go. Go back to the homework. There we go. Got it right this time. So yeah, and we'll see how far we get. Okay. I'm pacing this class as far as yes, we are doing part 2 of chapter 1. The pace of this class is roughly tailored to what you guys are, where you are. Some of you are already doing sections ahead of that. That's great. But those are people I know that have actually had some Latin before. So,
You know, Michael, I was going to ask of the class, if you can do the demographics, how many have, because I get a little intimidated, like when Alex starts talking, you know, it's kind of like, oh, you know, what's this guy got a PhD?
well, first
Oh,
off,
what-
keep in mind,
newbies
Alex is a lawyer. So you
Oh.
may be sensing, you know,
I better watch what I say then.
right. No, Alex has been with us for the last two years. So he's yeah. So he's
Yeah, well, my question is then is how many of us are brand new like myself versus those
okay. Well, all right. I'll tell you what, I want all the newbies to go to the little chat window and type in me.
Okay, there's the chat window. Okay. God, I don't know how to do this. Oh, here we go. Type every.
Send it to everybody.
Okay. Me.
Well, okay, I'm pretty sure, yeah, there we go, okay, yeah, see? I would say, believe it or not, most are. I would,
what?
yeah, we're only hearing from, let's see here. Well, there's
I
one,
can't figure out how to use it.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'd say there are about 13 of you that have had very little Latin.
Okay, about half the class then.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah,
See,
roughly.
the problem is, and I'm just being honest, like when Alex, like last week, when you guys got into this discussion, I was sitting there going, I think I'm in the wrong class.
No. I probably need to defer any questions like that. I hate to be
I
honest
mean, you
with you.
guys got off on a tangent and I'm going,
Yeah.
you know, I got a little nervous.
No, I apologize for that. I'll try and watch that. It's just Alex always asks me interesting questions. Which
Yeah,
I
no, I agree. I mean, he
Can't,
seems like a smart guy.
can't resist
Yeah,
answering.
what's the lawyer in him, you know, he probably charges by the word.
Michael,
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
in the chat box, I said, and this is true, everything I know about Latin, I learned from Michael. And so everyone in this class
Uh-huh.
can learn a great deal. It just takes patience. That's
It
all.
does.
Didn't learn anything from your law school? Thought they had a lot of Latin in there.
Oh, that's just, you learn what legal terms mean.
Right.
There's a big difference between learning, ex corde ecclesia, you learn terms, but there's a big difference between learning terms and understanding usage, understanding context and everything else. So
Yeah, you're learning the jargon of your profession.
that's right. If you're a doctor, you have to learn a lot of terms that are in Latin, but that doesn't mean that you're conversant in Latin.
I will second that one. I've asked some doctors, well, we'll leave that aside, but yeah, they don't know what it means, or at least most of them don't. So, and yeah, it's as Alex said, it's going to take patience and perseverance. Okay.
I'll try to.
And Gabriel there said, using Duolingo, be careful. Okay. Duolingo is not a bad program, but it is classical. So as far as I know, Duolingo does not do ecclesiastical. So be careful of the pronunciation. Some of it you really won't notice. So if I go up here, let's do this, the sign of the cross. Okay, so if it's classical or ecclesiastical, you would say, in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, Amen. No difference. But now let's come down here. Ave Maria becomes Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum. Nunc et in hora mortis nostrae becomes nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. So just be aware. I mean, it's not a bad thing to use. I signed up for it once just to see what it's like. I sort of collect Latin materials, Latin textbooks, etc., to find out what I think is the most useful. And that's why I've settled on Familia Romana. It seems to be the most consistent with what the goal.
What would you say is the least useful?
Least useful? Ooh, Pig Latin.
There you go.
Yeah, Pig Latin. Has nothing to do with Latin. Although, well, actually, in a way, maybe legal Latin and medical Latin in the US are pronounced as if they were English words. And so some of that just drives me up the wall when I hear some of those terms. It's like,
last week you all were talking about the name of that school in California that calls themselves Modern Day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
modern
you
day.
know what? That's, I swear to God, the announcers and everything, it's modern day. And then, like my son, I told him the other day, I go, it's modern day. He goes, no, Dad, I went there. It's modern day. You don't know what you're talking
You're
about.
already ahead of the curve, Michael.
Yeah.
Or even worse,
Yeah.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Noted.
Well, that's French.
Still,
Well,
people
yeah.
know how to pronounce the French one because they pronounce French when they're talking about the church. They
Yeah.
don't call the
True.
church Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They call
True.
the church Notre Dame. So why don't they call the college Notre Dame?
Because we're Americans.
Hey, Michael, just one last thing on the closing prayer.
Yeah.
I put on my headphones the other night and I listened to 50 Decades of the Rosary.
Okay.
And when they do the Ave Maria, where it says Nunc et in ore, they don't pronounce the H at all.
Okay.
We talked
There
about that last
is-
I
week.
know we did. I'm trying to remember what we said.
Well, pronounce it. I will make sure I Xerox the pronunciation pages out of Collins and send
Oh,
them
okay.
either with the notes or sometime, you know.
Well, I've got the book because I thought that's what we'd be using in this class. So
You got Collins?
yeah, I figured I'll go ahead and be smart.
Okay,
man.
well, all right. Now Collins is a good reference. I'm not saying everybody should get it, but if you look through the first chapter there, he has the pronunciation down.
Yes, he does.
There, okay.
Well, the only problem is I'm not getting a verification, and that's where I get it when I listen to this guy speak it. I'm not getting a feedback of, I see how it's supposed to be pronounced, and then I wonder, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Other than the H, that's the only thing. And he sort of swallows it. I mean, it's kind of in there, but it's kind of not. And I will say hora, not ora.
Yeah, see, you're saying horta. And
You can't say nunc et in ora mortis because that means now in prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our death.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I'll tell you
prayer.
where that's from. There is yeah. Oh, Taylor Martin. Yeah, actually, I'll look up a good rosary on YouTube. What happened is during the Middle Ages, in some countries, the H's were in the front of a word were swallowed. You see echoes of that in English. Do you say herb, H-E-R-B, or do you say herb? Do you say honor or honor?
Or hour or hower.
Or hour, yes. So even English tends to swallow them. That should not be done in ecclesiastical Latin. The reason, even within ecclesiastical Latin, there are a couple different branches of how things are going to, work themselves out.
Well,
And
when I was listening to it, it was a monk, and I think he was basically singing it, and then they had the actual word, in Latin come on there. So I'm listening.
Okay, if he's singing it, H is a very hard letter to sing. Okay,
Maybe it disappears. Yeah.
Yeah, it probably disappears. In fact, really, if you ever look at Gregorian chant, and we need to sum up here in a minute, if we ever look at Gregorian chant, the notes are on the vowels. Okay. Yeah. So it's, well, again, it depends on your system of pronunciation. It's not universal that the H is not sung. Okay. As I said, I'll send out the Collins. That is a particular style.
Another example of swallowing the H is in English, the actual letter H. Why is it pronounced H?
Yeah. Well,
it should be pronounced like the Irish pronounce it H.
Yeah. Well, yeah, well, I want to answer Laura's question. I know what, yeah, okay, but you were in more or less the same group of choirs, right? Laura?
For a while, but then after college, I was in a couple of different ones.
Yeah, so, well, they're adhering to what's in the Liber Usualis, okay, which is, a lot of choirs do. But it's a little, it's not as cut and dried as you might think it is. I'll try and dig up some videos. Anyway, we're hitting our time. We need to close out, and we'll take up that subject next week. I will mute everybody. All right. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen. So that is, I left off the end. Oh, well, there's usually a end in there. I see it got left off. Anyway, I will, that's the end of the class. I'll stay on a little bit.